You know, when you think about huge moments in history, you probably picture loud things, battles, revolutions, massive crowds. But sometimes the biggest changes start quietly, with just a little crackle of static and a single voice speaking into the silence. Today, we're going to tune into one of those moments.
So, let's set the scene. We're in London. It's November 14th, 1922. The city is foggy, still recovering from the war, and millions of people are about to hear something for the very first time. Something that would completely change what it even means to be a community.
And the time, 6 p.m., is so important. You've got the city winding down for the evening, but in a way, a whole new kind of day is just starting. One that's measured by a broadcast schedule, not by the sun.
Just picture it for a second. We're not in some grand concert hall or a fancy studio. It's just a simple, quiet room. And in that room, there's a lone microphone, just waiting to grab a voice and send it out into thin air. And that's really the big question we're asking, isn't it? Because this whole thing, it's not just about some new gadget. It's about the birth of a conversation, a shared experience that will connect people for generations to come.
All right, so let's actually step inside that room at Marconi House. This is ground zero. This is where all the magic and, the machinery was about to happen.
And you might be picturing something really high-tech. But the setting for this revolution was, well, incredibly simple. It was basically a makeshift studio. They had heavy drapes on the walls to block out the city noise. There was that one big microphone. And you could actually hear a clock ticking in the background, just counting down the seconds to history.
And then, it happens. The clock hits 6 o'clock. Suddenly, that ticking isn't a countdown anymore. It's the first beat of a brand new era. There's this heavy moment of silence. And then, a voice.
So now let's get to the words themselves. Because what was said in that moment was every bit as important as the technology that made it possible. This was basically the invention of talking to the public in a whole new way.
And there they are, the first words. It's the voice of a man named Arthur Burroughs. And he sounds so formal, so clear, just cutting right through the static. He's not talking to a few people in a room. He's talking to, well, who knows who. And he gives this strange call sign, 2LO. So what on earth is 2LO? Well, it was the station's official technical name, its call sign. But on this night, it became way more than that. It became a name, an identity. It was the very first whisper of what would grow into the BBC.
And this quote, wow, this is where you really see how big they were thinking. Burroughs and his team, they knew they were starting small, but right from the very first broadcast, they had this incredible vision that this small sound would one day speak for an entire nation.
Now that vision wasn't just some vague hope. It was a plan, a mission, and that mission would become the actual blueprint for public broadcasting all over the world.
In that very first show, they laid it all out. There are 3 big goals. First, inform. They read a news bulletin. Second, educate. They gave the weather report. And third, entertain. They played some music. It's a pretty simple formula, right? But it's a formula that has stuck around for a century.
And if you look at the schedule for that night, you can see just how intentional it all was. They had a formal opening, then the main content. They even took a moment to explain what they were trying to do with this new wireless thing, and then a proper sign-off. This was serious business right from minute one.
Okay, so we've been inside the studio this whole time, but what about the people on the other end, the listeners? Who were they, and what was it like to be part of this brand new age of wireless?
See, the audience wasn't just sitting back and relaxing. A lot of them were pioneers too. Many of them built their own radios, these things called crystal sets. You'd have people huddled around, maybe even sharing a single earpiece, or big groups gathered together at a friend's house. It was a new kind of social event.
And then, Burroughs says something that just cuts through everything. He makes a promise directly to this new, unseen audience. We are here not for profit, but for service. Think about that. This isn't about making a quick buck. It's about doing something for the public good. That one sentence set the course for everything that followed. And that statement, right there, from 1922, that's basically the birth of the idea we now call public service broadcasting, the concept that media can and should exist to serve society, to inform, educate, and entertain, not just to make money for shareholders. It was a revolutionary idea then, and honestly, it still is today.
So, we get to the end of the broadcast, but how do you end something that's really a beginning? Well, the ending itself was really just a promise for the future.
These last words are just so perfect. Tune in again tomorrow evening. It's not a goodbye. It's an invitation. It creates a routine, a relationship. He's telling everyone listening, hey, we'll be back. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was the start of a daily ritual.
And then, nothing. The voice is gone. The music fades. All that's left is the hiss of static. It leaves this empty space in the air, a space that you just know is going to be filled again tomorrow, and the day after that, for decades and decades to come.
So that night, a broadcast ended, sure, but a conversation began. A conversation between a voice in a tiny room and an entire nation that's still going on today. And it all started with that one broadcast and a simple promise to be there again tomorrow.